What up, geezers? It's Jules Gill here. I'm having a chat with Dan, the man. I believe that is his legal name, but he will correct me if I'm wrong. We're here to chat about Realms of Ruin, correct?
That is correct. We are here to talk about Realms of Ruin. Yes, I'm Dan Saunders. I'm a game designer at Frontier Developments, and I work on Warhammer Age of Sigmar Realms of Ruin.
I have one question to start with, and that is that this game is coming out November 17th, correct?
That is correct.
Are you excited?
Excited might be a bit of an understatement, yeah.
Because how long has the development period been for this?
Oh, I mean, I've been on the project since January 2022, a while before me as well, so yeah.
Nice. And for people at home who aren't aware of this upcoming game, why don't you give the elevator or escalator pitch for those in the know for what we do here on FGS to those at home?
Warhammer Age of Sigmar Realms of Ruin is a real-time strategy game coming to Xbox Series X and S, PS5 and PC, and it is a realization of the Warhammer Age of Sigmar universe developed by Games Workshop. The team's very, very passionate about bringing that world to life, so we're obviously very big fans of the RTS genre as well, so we get to mishmash something that we like with something else that we really like.
I mean, this thing, do you play the tabletop game yourself?
On and off, yeah. So we've got a group at work that tends to jump in and play the game at various points, yeah.
That's really cool, because I've noticed that one of the biggest selling points to me as a huge Warhammer fan is the level of sort of realization of models that I play with every single week with my friends and getting to see them come to life in such spectacular and rather destructive forms as well. Was there any particular model range or even singular model that you were just like, that's my boy, that's my jam right there?
I mean, we've just announced the Disciples of Tzeentch, and they are absolutely my favourites. I've been waiting for us to be able to talk about them for quite a long time, so yeah, it's an exciting time for that. But yes, the Screamers of Tzeentch are a big favourite of mine. Just crazy, wacky demons of a horrible god of change.
You've actually helped answer a question that's been positing around my local gaming store, which
Sure.
is, how do the Flamers of Tzeentch actually move? Because they look so completely ethereal and unlike anything else. So now we'll actually get an answer, which is quite nice.
I don't really know how to describe it, to be honest. I feel like you'll have to see it in the game to really understand how they move. Our animation team has done a great job, sort of.
Oh, yeah.
It feels almost ad-lib what they've come up with, and it really works to bring to life what is essentially just an insane creature.
It's like a blue banana that shoots flames and is very angry, isn't it? And the weird thing
Pretty
is that
much,
you
yeah.
can't even mocap something like that, can you? It's not like you can get some guys with like the Mortal Kombat mocap suit on just jumping around doing that. It's something that has to come out of the deepest, darkest nightmares of a developer.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe you could get someone like Jim Carrey to mocap something like that. Yeah.
Well, what's really interesting is you raised these Disciples of Tzeentch as a new faction that was announced fairly recently. Now, as a tabletop player, they're one of the strangest factions for you to choose, because they all exist on the idea of mutation, change, of never being constant. So how did you approach doing that in an RTS game, which is, in many respects, quite fixed in how you deliver units?
It's something that we've tried to get across both in the tech tree and in the units. So there were things like the Horrors of Tzeentch, where we've been able to capture the ability for them to split into different forms. So when a pink horror is destroyed, it splits into two blue horrors, and vice versa. When that blue horror then dies, it splits into brimstone horrors. And each of these have a different effect on the field. So that's the kind of stuff we're trying to look at when we're bringing Tzeentch to life, like where we can find the niches of their individual units.
So you're effectively keeping a static unit, but through its devolution of this different states, you're offering different playstyles within that singular unit.
Pretty much, yeah. So the brimstones specifically aren't something that the player controls, but when the horrors get to the end of their life cycle, the brimstone decides it's time to kill, and they are just going to run at whatever's the closest target and explode and hope that they kill something.
That's crazy, because like the way that each of these factions, I was lucky enough to play the betas that you released earlier on in the year, and I can say that in terms of like how the central gameplay loop works, it's incredibly tight. But I imagine that balancing forces of very different natures, because you've got the Stormcast Eternals, you've got the Nighthaunt, you've got the Cruel Boys, you've got the Disciples of Tzeentch. They could not be more diametrically opposed in how they approach battling. So how did you sit down and just were like, right, okay, how do we have this versus this and it be fair?
We tried to focus down through playtesting how the different factions play against each other. So you'll have noticed that when we did the beta, we just had Stormcast versus Cruel Boys, and when we had this occurring, we were also doing internal playtesting where we were making sure that that balance, Stormcast versus the Cruel Boys, the Stormcast versus the Stormcast, and the Cruel Boys versus the Cruel Boys, would always play out fairly so long as players were at an equal standing. And then as we've moved on in the project, we've introduced the Nighthaunt as they are ready, and then we've introduced Cinch as they're ready. And through playtesting, these have been balanced against each of the factors that I've already mentioned.
One of the main features, or an additional feature of Realms of Ruin, is the fact that you're adding in a map editor. So you've not only providing people with a very extensive single-player campaign, you've not only given them a multiplayer suite, you've not only given them a brand new control system, which we'll touch on in a minute, but you've also given them the ability to build their own maps. So starting on an equal footing is going to be a very different meaning when it comes to release, because people are going to make some insane maps. I can just feel it.
Yeah, we're absolutely expecting people to be a bit chaotic with what they create. Whether or not players want to go out and create a really balanced map like we've tried to do with the skirmishes in the game, but we've also been like, hey, if you want to make something crazy, as long as it still works, play it, do it.
Where did that even come from, the decision to give people access to your developer tools effectively?
It's something that was discussed quite heavily internally. We had the tools available. Whether or not we could dedicate the time to making them user-friendly, providing the right UI and UX to support that was something that, yeah, we deliberated on quite a lot. But when we found the time to be able to do it, we went, we should absolutely do it, because something that Frontier is known for and has prestige in is creating very creatively driven games. So being able to have the map editor and bring in our expertise into what we've already created is something the team thought, yeah, we should do that.
It's that level of granularity and customizing a playthrough in certain ways. And it doesn't just stop there, because I've realized as well in my gushing of different features, there's the diorama mode. Then there's the option to customize your force as well in terms of that. Like, you didn't need to go this hard. You've already made a very, very good RTS game. Like, what is your favorite feature that you've been able to add into this, or at least help support the team on?
So specifically, I've been working on the campaign. One of the things that I look at quite specifically, even more nitty-gritty, is the creation of tools for the creation of the campaign. So I work with a team of coders to develop an internal visual scripting system that we use to bring together the campaign as a whole. So something that the team has been very, very proud of, and something that we've built from the ground up for Realms of Ruin. So yeah, that's something I'm proud of.
It's crazy as well, because the direct step is a feature that is going to allow console players to command their armies with a level of flexibility and precision that probably has been missing from a lot of console-style RTSs. So what part in the development process did you decide, right, this is going to be something that we as a group focus on?
So Direct Step was prototyped a long time ago. Like before we were working on Realms of Ruin, it was still something we wanted to do, and having a love for RTS was something that we wanted to share. So a team that I was not involved in made the decision to sit down, prototype different versions of controller-based RTS control schemes. They eventually settled on Direct Step, and since we've started creating Realms of Ruin, that's iterated through a few different versions, being it that the game is a more melee-heavy game. We've had to make tweaks to make sure that Direct Step can support that, and that's in the instances of things like Jump Select, where you're able to hover your heading indicator at various units, and when you hit the select button it will jump towards them. Means that when you've got a clump of units in combat, you can easily and quickly get to another set of units in combat. You can keep an eye on the battlefield quite quickly on controller, which is something that the team are very, very happy about.
They've got to be, because it's like, in the betas that I've played, I exclusively used it to try and get the most out of it. And in all respects, I tried to break it as well, because I wanted to see where the limitations were on it. But I was so impressed with how fluid it was to be able to move between units, like you say, to monitor the battlefield at any sort of scope. I guess the final question out of all of these is, remind people again when the game is coming out, and also if you have anything else that you'd like to plug about the game that you are especially proud of.
Absolutely. So Warhammer Age of Sigmar Realms of Ruin is coming out on the 17th of November. For players that have pre-ordered the digital deluxe or ultimate editions, they will receive 3 days of early unlock, so that will be November 14th. You will be able to play the game then, play the campaign, give it a real good go. We're very, very excited about it, and you know, it's been co-written by acclaimed Black Library author Gav Thorpe.
That must be amazing. Awesome. Thank you very much, Dan, for
Not
your
a problem
time.
at all.
And let's clink. Oh, see ya.